Sit back, relax. Try to maintain your composure. You are about to become connected.
Hello everybody, this is the Connect podcast, episode 10.
We've got double digits. We've gone to 10.
We've made it to 10
Yeah.
episodes.
Good work.
Hopefully you've been listening to every single one and been an avid follower.
That's right.
And if you haven't, then that's really rude.
Rethink your strategy. Basically, rethink your strategy.
Today we have an extremely special guest with us. His name, I hope you get this right, Murali Maheswaran.
Great.
Is that right?
Perfect.
Great.
Perfect.
And he's here to chat with us about, seems like many things. He specialises in, he's had a few jobs in the tax departments in both the state and the federal governments.
Yep.
He's had a background history of education at the University of Melbourne in econometrics,
Econometrics.
finance, arts, law. He has
3 degrees.
his 3 degrees and honours in stuff, international law. He's extremely interested in sustainability. And so that's obviously a big thing for what we'd like to talk about too. So, without further ado...
Let's get started. I think, do you know where I think we should start, really? We should start with where we were going with the education system before.
Yeah. All right.
Let's kick off with that and your experience
Yes.
in Melbourne Uni, even back to high school and then...
Well, primary school. Let's start primary school.
Primary school.
Okay.
So I went to a primary school in a coal mining town in Botswana in Africa.
Holy
called
shit.
Celebi Piquet.
Yeah, right.
The school was called Kapano, and it was basically a school for the expats' children and some of the African children who were there as well.
Mm-hmm.
They taught a syllabus there that had been stopped being taught in England and wasn't taught in the colonial world much other than in these sorts of schools. So the English broke down their system, as I understand it, into high, medium, low.
English language?
No, the
or
actual
just
whole
the
education
whole
system.
okay.
Oh, wow.
And in Australia they were teaching, I think, medium. In Sri Lanka they teach medium.
Okay.
But in this school they taught English high. So
So do you mean according to what they think people can absorb and what
don't
intelligence their level is?
I don't know what it is. There was a density to it, though. There was a density to it that didn't
Wow.
exist in the other system. So when I learned to write, when I came to Australia, I stared blankly at a teacher who told me I needed a pen license. I was very well cultured, so I didn't tell her to get fucked.
Pen license.
You need to be able to earn your right.
I remember pen
You need to earn your
licenses.
right so you
To
don't
write.
waste paper.
Yeah.
You have to join letters.
You have to be able to join letters. And
Yeah.
to put this in context, we learnt in the old English way. So I wrote in copperplate. You know, the shit
Oh,
that you
yeah.
see with
Copperplate
backplate?
font on the internet.
You
How
know,
long-
in
a word.
old...
You learned this in Botswana.
Yeah.
Just to get... Well, how long did you live in Botswana? And was it because your parents were
6
doing
years,
something?
yeah. So
Okay.
a lot of the people in Ceylon in the 60s and 70s, prior to independence and then after independence, got very good educations. However, their economies were still structured around a lot of basic production. So they were producing things like raw materials,
Mhm.
Sure.
not many jobs.
Mhm.
So the problem that they had on decolonisation was that they had heaps of people who were trained and not enough jobs.
Okay.
The opportunity that arose for a lot of people who were using education as a way to get out for their families was to go overseas and work. The top courses at the time, so we look at sort of medicine, law as the things that we want to do in our society if you're
Right.
academically inclined, because they're the things that we valorise, they're the things we think are good.
Definitely.
Over there it used to be civil engineering, because they wanted to rebuild
Create
their
things,
country.
yeah.
They wanted to build their country.
Of course.
Mhm.
So my father and a generation of people like him all did Eng.
Yeah.
They did time. They had to do mandatory time for the government. So
Wow.
they worked,
Okay.
I think it was 5 years. He did 7, and then he got released to go to Singapore
Doing mandatory time in what?
in their public service. So he worked for the Public
Sure.
Works Department over there,
Wow, and that, okay. And
building stuff.
Yeah.
That's a Botswani.
No, this is in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka,
this is
okay.
Sri Lanka.
So in Ceylon, yeah.
Okay.
And then he went to Singapore, My brother and sister were born in Sri Lanka. They went to Singapore.
Okay.
From Singapore, he got a World Bank contract. So these are all International Development Bank and World Bank contracts to rebuild the third world, probably.
Sure,
Pretty
yeah,
much,
right.
yeah. So then he went to Zambia. I was born in Zambia.
You're born in Zambia, wow.
And then he moved down to Botswana, and we stayed there till I was about 6. Yeah. So
Okay.
I started school when I was 3. So I went to the equivalent of, we used to call it nursery, but I think it's kinder here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So I did that when I was 3, and I started school when I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which
What's
was very
interesting
hard
background?
for a 4-year-old. I almost failed grade 1
Yeah, really?
because I just wanted to like muck around and
Yeah.
play
Oh,
with shit.
absolutely.
and
That's
then
fair enough.
and then
I
Allow
think
that.
you deserve that.
yeah, well, that's right. And then
Yeah.
did really well after that.
Yeah.
But that system is different because you learnt to write in copper plates. So we were joining letters. We did maths, English, science, basic anatomy, and learnt geography, stuff like that, all in grade 1 and grade 2. So when I came
Oh
here,
my God.
I was in grade 3 going on grade 4, and they just said, you're too small.
Too small.
Physically too
But
small.
you were probably ahead in terms of what knowledge.
I didn't learn a new thing till I got to grade 6, maybe year 7.
Wow, that's really
Wow.
interesting. And this was the medium
This is the high.
high.
This
That
is
was
high,
the-
So
yeah.
we were doing fractions and we were doing algebra and we were doing
Wow.
all of that in grade 3.
What? Grade 3?
Yeah, and the kids could do it.
Wow.
That
that's
seems so.
interesting,
It's
isn't it?
not. It's
just a
it's
dense-
what you give.
It's a dense syllabus.
Yeah.
But that is, a lot of that was rote, right? A lot of that was,
Okay.
they taught you, but they also taught you first principle stuff, which we don't teach in maths.
See, I always thought that when it comes to sort of raising children and that sort of thing, there's no real parenting classes so much that
I've got 2 kids, so there is no parenting.
You two kids.
there is no,
Yeah,
but
little
it's sort of
girls,
like you go, like for interest's sake with your children, like how long will you sit with them with a book in front of them going a sheep goes bar and a cow goes moo, you know?
As long
what I
as
mean?
you can.
Really?
Yeah, the
Is that-
evidence shows that everything that you do, nothing substitutes for a parent at the dinner table with their child.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
what
But
Sean
no,
was
but
saying-
instead of saying a cow
Blah,
goes moo, would you go, well, here's a world globe and there's Africa and there's
We
China?
do that.
Yeah,
See,
you know what
I'm
I
a
mean?
real
You move,
advocate
you
for,
progress.
like, yeah.
Whatever they want to know,
Yeah.
we let them we follow their, we
that's
follow
all
their
right.
question. That's the way we teach our kids.
Sure.
So just answer whatever question, whatever
Yeah.
curiosity they have.
And break it down in your brain
How-
so that you can give it to them at a
Yeah.
level that they can understand, which is hard.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
would be really
yeah.
hard. And that's why being a teacher is such an amazing
Amazing
skill. You get to
profession.
meet people who are so good at it. Like my brother is a phenomenal teacher. The way he explains things, like
Yeah.
he'll find like a difficult concept, he'll find something about you that like for example with
Resonates.
me he talks in maths and food because I like food
yeah.
and it makes everything make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a real advocate for my kids, when I have kids, speaking to them as humans, like
Yeah.
as adults, and trying to like present them with the option of them trying to understand what's right and wrong for themselves. And you know, you might help them out. Go, this is the consequences, possible consequences, and it's up to you to decide what you do.
Surely, yeah.
Obviously, at a certain age, that's okay. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
You
like
can start that earlier though, and it's a maturity thing and an understanding. I think it also requires you to understand your child.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of that is, you know, in our lives, how much do we actually see? I think most people go birth to death and then that's it. So they get born again
Yeah.
because they didn't live out whatever they needed to live out.
Okay.
To
That's
transition
it,
from
yeah,
this
I-
life.
in a
I
spiritual way,
fully
like they have
believe
local
that too,
lessons
yeah.
they
Yeah,
need to learn.
so like my background from where we are at the top of Sri Lanka, we're Saivite Hindus, and there's only
Sure.
with Saiva Siddhanta, which is there's only 2 traditions which still believe the stuff that we believe, and one is in Kashmir,
Okay.
and the other one is in the north of Sri Lanka.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, so that is a frame that has come up in my life. Like
Sure.
I rejected all of it, and it came back to it.
And it's been useful for you.
Yeah, it is. Like I can live that frame.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's nice. That's
Yeah.
good.
And it means that one of the things I think that Hinduism offers, and Buddhism does as well, I have a real soft spot for Buddhism,
Yeah.
is that it allows you to take very, very large frames of time as your reference,
Mhm.
and it allows you to live ancient tradition simultaneously with a modern life,
Mhm.
and for those 2 things not to be in conflict.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas like Christianity is so outdated and hard to
Yeah.
make applicable to this lifestyle.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I haven't touched too drastically on Hinduism. I'm really got to get into. I mean, I've got to understand the fundamentals of.
Yeah.
You
just got to do what you do, though.
Your path's
your path.
Yeah, exactly.
Bump into shit when you're meant to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Alright,
so what happens? Let's go. What happens?
That's about uni.
Yeah, your experience in Australia.
I've got a story for you.
Okay.
Please.
Alright, so I got here, they put me down to grade 2 because I wasn't physically big enough. Within a week, the teachers said, can you please put him in grade 3? And Mum and Dad made the decision to keep me in grade 2. I got to the class, they had written something on chalk on the board, and they gave me a piece of slate, and I looked at the woman and I said, what is this? And she said, it's slate. And then she gave me a piece of chalk, and I said, why are you giving me chalk? And she said, you are going to write with the chalk on the slate. And I looked at her and I said, what am I going to write? Expecting to have to write a lot. And there was 3 sentences on the board, and she said, oh, you've got till lunchtime to do that. And I'm looking around at these kids going,
oh my
god. And so I would write it in Old English cursive.
Yeah.
Did it straight away, handed it to her and said, if you need me, I'm going to be in the Lego pit. So
you knew you were going to be in the Lego pen.
So I played in Lego for the whole of grade 2.
Did you find that most teachers just got...
good for my brain.
Yeah, I know.
Most teachers got frustrated with you, but some, very few of them, maybe actually found you in line.
The teachers didn't mind. Like, they didn't mind because they didn't have to teach me.
Yeah.
But it made it difficult going up grades because there's only one teacher who could read my handwriting.
Oh.
It was taught in an old system. So she was old enough to have written like that herself.
Have you found that you've sort of altered your handwriting a little bit?
They had to break me out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It comes back, but it's like that flowing cursive is gone.
Yeah, sure.
I always wonder about that actually when I get letters from my grandparents and like your mum writes like that.
My mum does.
And I always think, wow, it's just so not apparent anymore. No one writes like that anymore. And it's going in like one generation dies, it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
No one's going to write that anymore.
I wonder about that.
Really?
Because there's a tactile experience that your body does. It's an embodied experience, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that there is a natural rhythm that comes when you write with your body as opposed to typing into a screen.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when I've got work to do and there's a lot of shit and it's not making sense, I'll go into a room with a pad of paper
and write it.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's very expressive, and
and it allows you to draw. Like you can't nowadays. Once the tablets and stuff, they're getting better and better. So you could draw and write at the same time. But if you've got a pencil in your hand, you can draw the thing that you're thinking about and then write about it.
Well, I mean, that's interesting, because I write a diary, and I I started writing it in pen, but I quite like the feeling as a diary because it's an emotional thing, whatever. But I write on my MacBook now because my brain works too fast for my hands. I can't write fast enough, so my typing is much more in sync with my thoughts. Yeah. And I find that fine. Like I don't find that bad.
Have you compared what you used
to write?
Do you mean
the reading?
Yeah. Have you reread what you used to write compared to what you type?
I reckon you probably write, like, what I write on the computer, I write every single thought that comes out. So it's probably not so much of it's probably more just a train of thought, but whereas the paper is more of a story, it's much more thought out, because I know I can't write that much, because I physically can't keep up, so I actually really make sure I try and keep it succinct, or I try and tell a story a bit more better. But apart from, I don't know. I mean, I really do appreciate the beauty of writing, but I just like typing.
Because I wonder about that, because I reckon that, like, I've got friends who are writers and they only use the screen now.
Sure, yeah.
And that's an efficiency thing too.
Well, soon, will the keyboard be obsolete? Surely we're going to be talking to computers soon.
I wonder about that. We've all learnt this keyboard thing, but
that's also based on a typewriter that doesn't jam. So that's not anatomically specific to the way in which the language is made. So QWERTY is the way that they've organised that is that the letters that are next to each other don't get used.
Yeah, so I thought, so that you don't use just that side of it.
Because the old typewriters would jam.
Oh,
do you remember? Did you ever use a typewriter for schoolwork?
Not mine.
I used to use a typewriter for schoolwork.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no.
Dot matrix printer, mate.
Dot matrix printer.
That was like the height of civilization.
Absolutely, wasn't it? Yeah, definitely. No.
My brother uses a different keyboard. Maybe you know, but
split one.
What the split?
Yeah,
I like that too.
He loves that.
My hands better.
Yeah. He's a genius.
I'm still just trying to figure out how to
type. Me too.
Still, I'm really fast at it, but
you should do this random thing. I do it at work sometimes, where I'll just say, right, fuck it, I'm going to let my hands find it, and I'm just going to look at the
I
screen.
do that sometimes. It's fun.
Just see whether it does.
You're actually better
your
than
body,
the thing.
yeah, you are. Aren't
Yeah,
you?
for sure.
Your body actually has a sort of a muscle memory for where everything
For where go, yes,
And you just have to give it faith and just relax. Just
Yeah.
let the fingers do the talking.
Yeah.
Eh?
Because I had a friend who was a software programmer.